Get a piece of paper and a pen and figure it out. What games are you in? What games do you want to be in? What games do you not want to be in? And who do you want to be? And how are you going to win the version of yourself that you want to be? Because no one's just going to come down and hand it to you. You're going to have to play for it. And you're going to have to win it. Get after it. So last week, I was having a conversation with a girl that I'd been dating, and we were joking about where we each were respectively on our own dating rosters. You know, are you number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, whatever. And we had this running joke going that we were each other's number 2 on the roster. Even though we both thought of the other as the number 1, we just thought there was way too much pressure to think about each other as being number 1. So we would say, look, you're my number 2. And in that joke, I decided to pivot. And I said, actually, if we're being serious, you're number 5. And she didn't know where that joke was going. And so she said, well, respectfully, I'm kind of a big deal. So what on earth could number 2 or number 3 or number 4 be doing that I'm not? And I stopped her and I said, well, no, it's not that there's a number 2, number 3, or number 4 person in front of you, but you're number 5 on the roster when it comes to the priorities of my life. She asked me to explain, and I drew her this pyramid. This is my current hierarchy of needs. This was modeled after the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Abraham Maslow, he's a psychologist that was born, I think, in like 1908, and he developed a hierarchy of a human's personal needs, going all the way from base level food, water, shelter to self-actualization, the concept being that the farther along you get into your self-development and matching those needs, the more that you are able to evolve and grow as a human being. So I came up with my own personal hierarchy of needs to jokingly explain to her why she was number 5 on my life roster, but I realized that this is actually way more important than the joke that I initially had written it for. So let's walk through the categories together. At the bottom, I have self. And self is comprised of sleep, nutrition, exercise, relaxation, reading, and alone time. These are the things that matter to me more than anything else in my life. If I don't sleep well, if I don't eat well, if I'm not training constantly or consistently, if I don't bake in time to relax and have solitude, and if I don't read, my life will not feel well balanced. The next bucket on there is the memoir. As you guys know, that is really priority number 1 outside of just maintaining myself and taking care of myself, is getting in front of my laptop every single day and writing for at least an hour. The next category up there is social, and I put in there in parentheses friends. So making time for people who are already near and dear and close to my heart, my best friends, people who fill my own cup. The fourth bucket up there is YouTube. That's you guys making these YouTube videos every week and showing up and trying to kind of keep you in the loop of what I'm doing. Because 3 years ago, I said I'm going to make a YouTube video once a week, every single week for the next 3 years. And I've stayed consistent with that. Technically, 3 years would be in April because that's when I launched my YouTube channel 3 years ago. So I have to figure out if I'm going to keep making YouTube videos or not. But we'll get there one day. And then the fifth bucket up there is dating. As you can see, this is literally the page that I gave to her because it says in parentheses number 2, indicating that's where she is on my roster. And the next one is travel. And then the top of the pyramid is miscellaneous. And I put in that category random dates, spontaneous pursuits, and other random desires. So things that I wouldn't consciously be thinking about bettering, but things that just pop up that I'm like, you know what? I don't have plans today, but I want to drive to a new coffee shop. Or I'm going to, try to get on another date. Or like things that just kind of pop up organically that aren't necessarily planned and can't be planned, but that still matter to me. So why are we talking about my hierarchy of needs? Why am I showing you this piece of paper? Why am I talking about my priorities in life? Honestly, it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the concept of your life being a game, a series of different games, actually, that we are all playing all of the time, whether or not we realize it. There's a broader game of life, And within the game of life, there are different sub-games that we're playing all the time, right? There's the game of health. What am I doing for my health in terms of my fitness, my diet, my exercise regimen? How am I becoming a healthy person? There's the game of work, what I do for my job, which is not on here because it's not a personal, selfish priority list, but that is definitely a game that I play. There is the game of my creative pursuits, right? The game of making these YouTube videos and trying to show up every week and be the best version of myself that I can possibly be. There's the game of writing my book. And I got this concept of life being a series of games from Jocko Willink, who I've referenced on this podcast before. And he released a set of podcasts over the last few weeks talking about how your life is a game and how you need to be aware of all of the games that you're playing. Because most people aren't aware that they're in a game. And the only way to guarantee that you're never going to win the game is to not know what games you're playing or to not realize that you're playing one, period. And he talked a little bit in that podcast about how people might not like the concept of thinking about life as a game, because when we hear game, we hear silly, we hear tic-tac-toe, we hear, Candy Crush or I don't know, whatever other video games or kind of something like that. And that's not the point of thinking about life as a game. That's not the point of thinking about my health as a game as if it's not serious. No, but the point of focusing on or perceiving all of these things as a game is the fact that there's levels to all of this, and you're constantly trying to move forward through the game. And you get to make a series of choices every single day across all of the broad categories of all of the different games that we're playing. The game of health, the game of work, the game of passion, the game of happiness. We get to make choices in all of these games all of the time. We get to make choices that'll push us forward into that game and get us closer to winning it. We also have the opportunity to make choices that are going to hold us back and are going to take us down a few levels or are going to keep us from progressing on each of those games, right? So if I'm in the game of health, for example, every day it's a choice what I put into my body. If I decide that I want to be healthy and fit and strong, then my diet is going to be optimized in a certain way, and I'm going to have certain protocols around what I eat on a pretty consistent basis in order to make sure that I'm healthy. I'm going to eat a lot of vegetables. I'm not going to eat a lot of junk. I'm not going to eat Doritos every day. I'm going to eat clean, because to advance on my game of health, I need to manipulate the variables that are going to make me close to health and make me healthier and are going to get me closer to winning that game, even though there's no winning that game necessarily, you know what I mean? Not all of these games are zero sum, right? It's not like one person wins and another person loses, and it's not like you have one penultimate choice that you can make that's going to make you a winner and every other choice is going to make you a loser. No, but it's a concept or a framework for perceiving the way that you move through life, which is to realize that everything that you do in life is a game with a series of choices that you can make to push yourself into that landscape, to level up, or to hold yourself back and to come back down and to not progress and to not advance and to not win that game, to get closer to losing that game or whatever series of games you're playing. You know what I mean? And part of the reason why I wanted to show you my personal hierarchy of needs is because even though I was in a joking conversation with this girl for 5 minutes over text, it took me 30 seconds to write out this hierarchy. It took me 30 seconds to draw this out, to understand that I've got 7 levels of game that I'm playing every single day that matter to me, and I know exactly what allocation of time and energy and effort and care I'm going to put and invest into each of these subcategories, because I'm so crystal clear about my goals and about what games I'm in and the ultimate things that I'm pursuing and what matters to me, that I was able to do this very effortlessly. I know that the most important thing for me is to fill myself. I know the next most important thing in my life is to write this book. I know the next most important thing in my life is a sense of belonging and connection, and that means greasing the social wheel and making sure that I'm touching base with all my friends, especially now that I don't have social media anymore, which is another video that I want to make one day, but I need to put that effort in because I want to, because I know that it matters to me, because it's my third biggest priority in life. And my list here might be totally different from yours. Sure, I think there's some categories here that are great for us all to play. The game of friendship. The game of wanting to establish good connections with people so you don't feel lonely. I think that's a good game. I think the game of health is a good game. But you know what? We all play different games. For some people, it's the game of wealth. Some people want to play the game of wealth. They just want to make a lot of money. Some people, it's the game of freedom, which kind of ties into why most people oftentimes want a lot of money, because they really want to feel free to make a lot of choices. Some people want to play the game of passion. They want to play the game of skiing. They want to play the game of whatever. The point being, we all have a different subset of games. And what matters to me to pursue and to win, the games that I am in and on every single day of my life, are relevant to you maybe, but the concept that you're in those games and that you gotta know with crystal clarity what games you're in, how you're investing your time, what matters to you, how to fill your cup, how to advance in each of these games, that's something that you really gotta prioritize. Because if you can't make a list like this in a minute or less, then it means that you don't really know what your priorities are. And if you don't know what your priorities are, then you're not going to effectively be able to allocate your time that you're investing, your money, your thought process, your brain power, your horsepower into advancing and into ultimately creating the life that you want to live. That's the ultimate game of life, right? Is to be living in a way that you feel like is what you want to be living like and who you want to be. So you gotta be able to come up with a hierarchy of needs like this. You have to know how you want to allocate your time and be honest with yourself about the games that you're playing and why you're playing those games and what matters to you ultimately. Because it doesn't matter to me if your ultimate game in life is skiing and you want to do everything that you can to go be skiing or be a mountaineer or to be the best father that you can be. Those are your games. Their influence has no influence on me. They're your games. We're all playing our own subset of games, and mine have nothing to do with you. These are not zero-sum games, right? Like, you can be the best father that you can be, and I can be the best friend that I can be, and, maybe those are not exactly the same in this example off the top of my head, but you get the point. Like, we can each be the best in our own category because it's our own life. And so get crystal clear on the games that you're playing, on what matters to you, on where you want to invest your time, because where you invest your time is ultimately where you invest your life. And it is ultimately how you're going to create the version of yourself that you are in the world. And if you want the version of yourself that you are in the world to be in alignment with the version of yourself that you want to be in the world, will you get there by knowing what games you're playing, by understanding the objectives of the games that you're playing, and by making the series of choices that are available to you every single day across those games to advance you further and to get you closer to proverbially winning. Come up with a list. Maybe you got 3 categories, maybe you got 7 like me, maybe you got 15. Hopefully you don't have 15 because it's going to be hard to prioritize if you've got 15. But do something like this. I'd be curious, how long does it take you if you sit with yourself for 5 minutes even? Give yourself 5 whole minutes and ask yourself, what's the most important things in my life right now? Who do I want to be? And what does that look like? And it's all right if you can't do that. But if you can't do that, you should start, like, right now. Like, I'm waiting. Like, I know maybe you haven't done the exercise yet, but I'm staring at you and I'm waiting for you to get up and get a piece of paper and a pen and figure it out. What games are you in? What games do you want to be in? What games do you not want to be in? And who do you want to be? And how are you going to win the version of yourself that you want to be? Because no one's just going to come down and hand it to you. You're going to have to play for it. And you're going to have to win it. Get after it. All right. I'm going to wrap up the video here. Thank you so much for being here. I love you. I feel like the videos have been doing pretty consistently well over the last couple of weeks, and that makes me feel really happy. If there's anything that you want me to cover that I haven't covered already, please let me know. We'll talk through it. But with that being said, I'm going to wrap up things here, and I'm going to get after my games. Actually, today specifically, it's the Super Bowl. And what I got to do is prioritize YouTube, get this video out, and social. Go spend it with my friends and my family. And get after, bettering my game. So I'm out of here. I'll see you next week. Bye.